Jyväskylässä Armon vuonna 2019 Juha Saukkonen haastattelijana haastateltavana PV, energia-alan yrittäjänä toiminut tekniseltä energiateknologiataustalta, nykyään toimii sijoittajana, yrittäjänä, arvioi yritysideoita. Onko enää energia-alalla panoksia suoraan?
Itselläni ei, paitsi että on meillä vielä semmoinen niin kuin sillanpääasema, sanotaanko näin.
Joo.
Midenergo-niminen yhtiö.
Yep. And the purpose of the interview is to get some data. We are running interviews with people knowledgeable of modern emerging technologies such as blockchain and people who understand the application areas. And in this case, the application area naturally is the energy market. Is there a transformation happening? How could it happen? How could it not happen? And what are the driving forces, obstacles, and who are the kind of target markets and players in the new world of energy markets, if there will be any new world? And in front of us on the table there is a hell of a lot of nice talk about how, for example, blockchain, one of those emerging technologies, might mean transformation of energy business and energy market in the future. It's mostly focusing on the opportunities, especially when I screen the literature. We talk about peer-to-peer information sharing, peer-to-peer trading, microgrids, and so on. So people seem to be very eager to see opportunities, how to make energy market more efficient, transparent, whatsoever. The questions I want to tackle today is that who are the beneficiaries of this new way of acting in energy market, if that will happen? Who should have which kind of a role, and what are the enablers and obstacles of this to happen? And of course, one important question, are there entrepreneurial opportunities? Can there be new services and products, platforms whatsoever that could utilize the new technology to make the energy market something different than it is today? So the first question, I would say that you started your company back in 90s and you run it up to 2010 roughly?
Roughly, yes.
How would you describe the kind of a technological change in the business environment or inside your operations during that time, like 25 years from now to roughly 10 years from now? Did you see some kind of a major technological changes, and what were they?
Yes, I would say that the main change in the energy business in the Nordic countries was concerning the measurement technology and remote reading.
Okay.
Because as the liberalization of energy market took place, there was a need and necessity to build systems to pick the data from the measurements, and that was the big change.
So it made everything that was based on kind of a batch processing after a certain intervals, after a month, after a year or something, to be real time.
Yes, because in the past energy measurements were read normally once a year manually. And now the new technology became placed to make it automatically. And the other one was the information technology that brought this information for the customers and all the players in the energy market.
So would you call it transparency, or was it kind of a move towards transparency, that everybody knew exactly what is happening on real time, or was there somebody who was still the key holder of the information?
Yeah.
Was and maybe even is today?
Even today, grid companies are responsible of the measurement data.
Yeah.
Because they own the measurement and all the equipment. And in the early days, they were very jealousy of the measurement data. And we made a lot of work in order to have that information for our purposes and for the client's purposes.
And your purposes would have been, for example,
to analyze the data and to see
consumption patterns.
Visually how the consumption pattern, how does it look like, because it's the connection to the energy price, because the price of the electricity is based on the hourly data. So you need to know the consumption figure in order to.
So you would have needed that information to, I don't know, is algorithm a right technical word, but to have a data on which you can build your applications to forecast, predict, consult, and so on.
For example, to forecast the consumption, because if the customer is buying the energy from the Nord Pool power exchange, you need to do the order and bid for the next day and next few days.
Yeah, and you mentioned you as the kind of who would have loved to have that data, but you also mentioned the customers. So you talk mostly about the B2B kind of a major industrial or retail customers and so on.
Yes, because
why would they need it? If you are still the middleman who knows and who predicts that, what is the idea of the end users also needing that information?
We develop an internet-based reporting system called Enerkey, which still exists, and actually the company itself is called now Enerkey.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that service was and is to visualize the consumption figures, not only electricity but also water and district heating and everything.
So what was the role of that? So that the end user, your customer, could kind of also see what you were seeing, and you would then jointly make the decisions. That it would not only that you have the data hidden somewhere and they have to rely on you.
Because this information is in internet. We brought it to internet. And all these customers were able to see their consumption figures very easily.
Yeah.
And if you think about, for example, our biggest customer was, or even is, like Kesko, who owns hundreds of places all over Finland. So they need to know each individual consumption, but also
the aggregated
consumption figures. And we made this together for them.
Yeah. And of course the idea was that the liberalization in Finland that took place in 92 something. 95. It was not only for B2B, but theoretically anybody could buy whatever different type of contracts and different suppliers. But to my understanding, it never went kind of fully to the consumer market, or not at least very rapidly. Why was that? While you're talking, I will pick up one thing that I forgot to my desk.
I didn't want to talk myself because someone would think that I'm crazy.
Yeah. No, you're not talking to yourself, you're talking to the recorder. Even more serious.
But in the first place, the obstacle was that because the trading need to have the hourly-based measurements, and ordinary customers didn't have this kind of equipment, which they nowadays do. Yeah. But in the early days, they didn't have this equipment, so that was a technical obstacle.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays every customer can buy electricity from whoever supplier.
Yeah.
At least in Finland. But system is developed.
Let's focus on Finland. Something that you haven't touched too. So we will have some philosophical talk later on.
Basically, that nowadays it is very easy. You just inform the new supplier that yes, I will buy electricity from you and I will make an agreement with you.
Yeah.
But I think it's more or less still a kind of a psychological obstacle that people are somehow afraid to make changes even though they would be economically reasonable.
Yeah, so always the old way of doing things is the one we know.
Yeah, and they are some kind of
Yeah,
afraid of what might happen. Can the grid company shut down the electricity,
Yeah.
or
yeah,
shall there be some kind of bad surprises about the price?
yeah,
And therefore the movement from suppliers to another has been relatively low. I think something like 10-15%.
yeah. Maybe at least the Finnish people are they are learning by the mobile phone. I mean subscriptions, or they are people. You hear very often people saying, "I changed again because the price is well over." So this kind of a active trading culture is only coming, but energy is still kind of a.
It has been coming for almost 20 years already.
Yeah. But since you started, first of all, after a while you were not alone in the B2B market. There were competition who was, at least their business idea was the same as you. And then I also noticed that there were companies who had more kind of business to consumer point of view, that they were also willing to use the data to make the private consumer understand better their consumption patterns, economize on their behavior, economize on their buying. Have you seen any success stories there, or do you know how these companies have really developed it? Have they gained a serious foothold on the energy market, being a kind of a consultant, or however you would like to describe them?
Well, since I've been out of the business for, let me say, seven years, so it's.
So now you can follow it also from the consumer point of view a bit, right?
Yeah. There has been some development, yes. For example, I have some kind of an application in my mobile phone, which I just install it.
Yeah.
But to make it a success story, it's really hard nowadays. I would assume, because competition and the marginals of power business is very low, because there's a public price for electricity.
Yeah.
And the only thing that you can add is a very minor margin.
Yeah.
And for that margin you have to develop all the services, for example,
Yeah.
this kind of a mobile application of consumption.
Yeah.
To make it a success story, it's really difficult, and as far as I know, there's not many players or none in the market who has made a really successful story about this.
Yeah.
Maybe the Energy was in the early days because it was the first one that actually.
Yeah, it's a very crowded marketplace now. With somebody says,
it's very crowded.
We help you with your energy bill.
And still, for example, this service that I'm using now for my own consumption is for free.
Yeah.
So the player cannot earn it.
So the earning logic is a bit mysterious there, or?
Yes, you have to have this kind of service nowadays in order to be there, but
you cannot charge anything for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Well, one thing that has really, the reason we are doing this research is that YAMK, our home base, and we as researchers are interested in technology business and technology's impact into businesses. And when we started looking at, there is a conference coming up in Vaasa concerning energy markets, the new ideas, business models, and so on. And there seems to be a hell of a lot of writing stories about how blockchain technology, for example, is one emerging technology that is gaining traction, that people are saying that it has a potential to make energy market more efficient, it has the potential to make it more sustainable, and so on. Before we go into that, can you, as you are investing into other technology companies or technology providers as well, that Do you think there are some other technologies than blockchain that we should talk of when we talk about energy market and where is it going to? Have you seen some kind of, artificial intelligence, whatever it might be?
Yes, the smart grid is something that has been a topic in the energy markets for quite a few years, I would say.
And what would the smart grid need to become a reality, technology-wise? What is the missing part?
Well, the technology itself is there. I would say that is okay, but to make it what was the name that you were using? Ansaintalogiikka.
Earning logic.
Earning logic is something that is maybe missing.
Yeah, because the grids are not publicly held, but the public or the society would benefit from the smart grid, but there must be a business reason for somebody to do it, and who would be the beneficiary of it?
The consumer, of course.
In which sense the consumer would be the beneficiary of smart grid?
In order to use its energy more efficiently and
so buying at the right time at the right price.
Buying at the right time and saving energy as well, both.
Yeah. Have I understood correctly that even selling it back to the grid if you have excess energy, then you would be an active trader?
Yeah. That is one possibility, since, for example, solar systems are having more marketplace.
Yeah. So you cannot because smart grid basically, what kind of a technology does it need? Smart grid to become a reality, it needs ICT, it needs some kind of energy storage, it needs reliable measurements and trading data, or how would you describe the kind of technological environment of a smart grid? For example, from the consumer point of view.
Well,
what is needed so that the smart grid really exists? We have the grid. What is the smart part that we are missing at this moment?
Yeah, the consumption needs to be flexible. That's the main point, because the price of the electricity is changing, and the load in the grid is changing, and we need to adjust these both things as economically as possible. And to do this, we need to have the information about the market price hour by hour. We need to...
Do you think in the future it can be even shorter intervals? If it's fully online, why does it have to be an hourly based? Is it becoming from the trading, the stock exchange, that it's operating on a hourly intervals?
It has been hourly for the beginning, and I don't see any reason why to change it.
Yeah, that is kind of a time interval long enough that because if it would be every 2 minutes, then the data amount would explode, and still people would not be able to do anything reasonable.
No.
In that time window.
And of course the producers are using much shorter intervals to adjust the whole system, but that's another story. But the hourly data is needed for the smart grid, and some kind of technology to, for example, to adjust or even cut the consumption.
Yeah. So who would be your trading partner? Let's say that there's a smart grid and I'm an active consumer. What type of I need some kind of a platform that tells me about these market changes, the price changes. Mm-hmm. Do I have to have some kind of IoT that I can integrate my energy using devices into that data, or do I then manually start to adjusting my consumption? Or
no, not manually. No one can do that. But you need to have a automatical system to act flexibly as a consumer. Yeah. And that's the main point. And how to do this? you need to build the measurement,
Yeah.
adjusting systems, and also information for the customer and for the energy supplier
Yeah.
in order to handle everything.
Yeah.
But still, the main point is the earning logic.
Yeah.
Who is earning and
Yeah.
how much?
Do you believe in many of those papers we have in front of us that some of them are academic research based, some of them are meta-analysis of other people's papers, some are more from commercial point of view. They say that, for example, peer-to-peer, so consumer-to-consumer electricity trading and microgrids where people have also the physical microgrid where they trade inside a small cluster might be a future of energy markets. Do you believe in that? In some kind of generally speaking, or in some separate cases, is it kind of more like a wishful thinking, and what would that need? So that I could be an active trader in my small circuit, or customer pooling, or whatever how you call it.
Well, I don't see that the legislation could change very rapidly, and even if it does, you need to have, because the basic of the energy market is to have the freedom to choose whatever supplier you need to have.
Yeah.
Now if you are building small blocks that Juha Saukkonen, is producing energy and supplying your neighbors also,
Yeah.
you are back again in a monopolistic situation, and I think that was not the point in the first place.
Okay. And even though I would have all the data, so I could be kind of a fair monopolistic, everybody would know what is the market price and what's my surplus, or each other's surplus, but it's creating kind of a micro market that has the same problems that we used to have earlier, or
yeah, basically,
kind
yes.
of.
And the electricity grid is a marketplace itself.
Yeah.
And all the players, consumers and producers are all attached to that marketplace.
Yeah.
So if you are cutting this marketplace to the smaller parts, you are making a micro markets, and you are going back to the monopolistic system.
So the micro markets might, in fact, because people say that this will make, this will be more efficiency based and this will give more power to the consumers, but it might make the whole marketplace less efficient than it is today.
Definitely, yes.
Okay. That is maybe something that these idealistic papers do not so much talk about. Because that's the way I say that why we have the word blockchain popping up is that say that, well, to do this kind of a peer-to-peer trading, customer pooling and so on, blockchain might be great because it can maintain a distributed ledger. It can kind of guarantee that the data moving between different partners is intact and correct all the time. But what would it really bring to the energy market? That's quite interesting to think about, because as you can see, so many people are writing about it, but the reality check is what we are trying to do now.
Yes.
I guess you hear some blockchain business proposals nowadays. So can you see any connection between blockchain and energy? Either energy making, distribution, grid optimization, invoicing, whatever. Or blockchain is one thing and energy is one thing. Do they meet somehow in your thoughts?
And just to check, blockchain in Finnish you mean about?
Lohkoketju technology.
Lohkoketju.
Lohkoketju, yeah. Where I think we have this, we have shared, secure, distributed kind of files. We can, for example, trace, we can maintain, if you say in the food market, for example, we can kind of maintain the original information of the origin of a banana X between the farm where it was, where it was kind of cultivated until it's sold in a co-market in Tapionkatu. And because it's distributed, there are numerous copies of the same original information. Nobody basically can falsify it.
Yeah.
And it should allow people to do kind of Because in most business networks, there is somebody who is a middleman, who is a trusted partner, who is who has the legitimacy and the position and the fame that they can be trusted, and they hold the data. In this system, basically nobody holds the data, but everybody does. So I think would this type of a technology, if it spreads, would it create opportunities for companies like Energies, or would it make them somehow obsolete, not needed anymore, because the data is for everybody everywhere?
Yeah,
I can tell you there is one company I asked that could I interview you guys. They are giving this kind of a consumption consulting and so on. I promised not to mention the name, and said, well, we don't have, I translate freely, we don't have the professionalism to even estimate the blockchain effects in our services, because we do not offer that kind of a content that would need all those properties of exactness and origin of information. In our databases, the consumption data about energy is changing. Any individual value maybe have to be changed after the energy company has made their, how do I say, inspection calculation. Plus, we are not doing any transactions. As well, the customer interface, the deals and the invoices are in the background systems of the energy company. So we as a consulting company do not see blockchain to have a role in our services. But my question is that, are these services needed anymore if the consumers can get reliable data directly and they can trust on it? For example, via blockchain.
Yeah, to be honest, I have to say that this kind of thinking of blockchains in energy market is new for me. I really do not see any need for that. At first, maybe I should think about it more.
No, I think that, okay, if you say that peer-to-peer trading and microgrids, they have other problems that they do not come. My understanding is that to make them work, you would need something like a blockchain technology to make sure that the data is reliable all the time, up to date, and there would be no need of a middleman anymore who is aggregating the data and so on. But you think that the microgrids and peer-to-peer trading in energy, they are more like ideas than business reality for at least the mid-term to come.
Yeah. This is just free thinking, but
this is what we are after. Yeah.
The only case that I see any purpose for micro chains and microgrids is that if there is a natural producer of electricity, a natural consumer of electricity nearby,
okay,
as they are, for example, in the industrial sites.
Yeah.
Naturally, the Finnish industry has been developing beside the rapids, because you need the water energy, hydro energy, and
so in that sense, most likely industrial sites, their logic would be that there is maybe one producer who could be a pulp mill, and a few other industrial companies at the same site. Who would be using it.
As they are, there are things and situations like this even today.
Yeah.
You are producing and consuming the electricity inside one site.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's all right. Then you just have to have the measurements and.
But thinking also freely, where is the blockchain needed? Because anyway, it's then one-to-one relationship. Yeah. They can share the same data.
Yeah.
It doesn't travel around a long network of chains where the kind of accuracy and the reliability of the data would be questioned.
The only thing is that you can say that the origin of my electricity comes from the hydro plant there.
Yeah.
That's the one benefit.
Yeah. But even that does not need blockchain to authenticate.
No, and I cannot see any reason why we should build this kind of blockchains more than there already is.
Yeah,
Because they are not natural monopolistic situations that has took place.
Yeah.
But if you want to buy, for example, wind power from the market, the grid itself is the marketplace.
Yeah.
All the producers are connected to that, and all the consumers are also connected to that.
And to my understanding, you can already in today's market, I can decide to buy wind energy to my household.
Yes, you can.
But it doesn't have to follow on an hourly basis that exactly this electricity I was buying now as a wind energy was produced right now as a wind energy. So
That's
it's
true.
kind of working on quotas on a yearly basis or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
They promise to produce as much as we, all the consumers, buy. Or they will buy from somebody and
in a yearly basis. Yes, that's exactly the situation. And for example, when talking about wind energy and cold winter day when you need the electricity mostly, and it's a calm day, all the wind power plants are shut down. So everybody can understand that this energy that I'm using now is not coming from the wind plants, but it comes from some other place. But on yearly basis, you will still have that amount of wind
and the kind of a trusted partner is then the energy company who commits.
Yes, and the grid companies who are responsible of the measurements.
Yeah. Is there anybody controlling that this really happens? That if they sell X terawatts of wind power, that they really also either produce or buy? Is there a controlling mechanism on the market for that?
Yeah, there's at least the market of certificates of origin.
Yeah.
Alkuperätodistukset. This is something that also my company was operating with, and that's one possibility. Then someone has to make the audition of origin, how the electricity is produced and who is consuming and how much.
Yeah. So I think
that's marketplace system, and also everything is based on the measurements. All the measurements has to match.
Yeah.
In the
I think one of the big promises or one of the big hopes for the blockchain is in the market where goods are truly virtual. Like people say that, well, if you can really trust to your business partner who you invoice to or who is invoicing you, you do not need anymore a bank in between in the future. As every single piece of data has can be trusted on, and its validity can be checked and so on. So it's kind of economizing, it's making the whole value chain shorter. It's cutting one member out of who is kind of a controlling member in the financial markets. But you think that in energy market there will be the grid company, there will be the energy maker. So in that sense, this kind of a peer-to-peer idea is kind of as you said, it only functions in a microgrid that bonds naturally, kind of a location-based.
Yeah, but still in a local-based system, there still is grid, and there still is the production.
Yeah.
To physical entities, even though maybe in the invoice they are the same figure, but there are two things.
And the markets are, in that sense, compared to the financial market, the markets are local because they are to a certain extent still tied to the grid and even national boundaries, even though we have the transmission lines. But if I find somebody from Russia or I find somebody from Norway and say, hey, let's collaborate as a consumers what comes to our energy bill and energy consumption, what can we really do?
Well, short answer is nothing. But
Yeah.
basically, in the Nordic systems, you can do more easily something
Yeah.
than compared to the Russian market, because Russian market is.
Yeah. But even in the Nordic system, if we want to collaborate, we would like to, I don't know, customer pooling or something. We could do it with the present technology. We don't need blockchain, distributed databases, and this kind of a thing.
Yeah, you can pool customers, and that is something that I have also thought about. That might be something that we haven't seen in the B2C business.
Yeah.
In the Nordic markets.
Yeah.
So
Whether blockchain is then the technological, is it kind of an overshot, kind of a too heavy a system because it's an energy consumer in itself?
Yeah, what I have thought about is making some kind of a block or pool like osuuskauppa.
Yeah. Cooperative.
Yeah. Cooperative pool of customers that are buying and operating all together.
And they need some kind of a platform.
Or player. They are the player itself.
Yeah. But then to distribute the data, the money, and even the consumption data, money, whatever, they need some kind of a system where they handle their own pool then.
Yes, and someone to operate it as well.
Yeah. So that might be, I think we are coming to the very end, that might be whether if the pools are becoming large and they are crossing national boundaries and so on, and if the question is the trust, because somebody always is the spider in the web, somebody is running the platform, somebody maybe puts the pool together, maybe this type of a technology might be needed to kind of make the data transparent and trustable.
Yeah.
But are they economizing because it's adding one operator in the chain, right? Kind of.
Basically, yes, but in my understanding, making the customer bigger as it is, if you think about a individual consumer, it's the possibility to earn the savings from large scale energies.
Yeah, and the savings would justify the kind of a birth of a new member into the chain.
Yeah,
if you can run that in an economic way, which is very automated.
Yeah.
Very kind of
and since the customer doesn't trust power company, so if you have a power company of your own, like a osuuskunta, then you are dividing all the savings that you earn for each member of that osuuskunta.
Yeah, and then basically I was thinking that is this an opportunity for companies like Energy that they could kind of be the operator of this cooperative?
For example, yes. So you need to build up a new company.
Yeah.
Using this idea.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, no one has done it yet.
Yeah. And what was being holding the back? Nobody has been the risk taker because we don't know whether it will ever, whether the one who runs the pool, whether they can ever make the money.
Yeah.
And also handling.
If you think about this osuuskauppa, can you say that they are a risk taker?
Not really.
Yeah, that's correct. So basically this idea should be relatively easily to build up.
And or it could be one business stream of an existing cooperatives, because there are a lot of cooperatives in this world.
Yeah.
But they haven't gone to the energy market for some reason. And to my understanding, none of them are on the producer side, let alone running the grids. So, I think we will. This was very good reality acid test for emerging technologies. All nice promises. Energy market is and will remain not like just trading any virtual currency or things that we have seen blockchain used. It still is to a certain extent locally bounded. It has natural reasons to be arranged the way it is, but also some new ideas might be born, and blockchain might be at least part of that development. So we've gone 40 minutes, which was more or less the plan. Just to let Mr. X know that next time we will talk with. We have had a few discussions with people who are deeply into the technology in itself, and not that much on the energy market. So they might be the ones who see all the opportunities and the kind of enabling factors that the technology might have. And then we have next week we are meeting somebody who has studied the blockchain implementation in various industries. So hopefully that person is also one of those who can bridge the corporate reality to the technological promise. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I think we are done and we go for a lunch. Unfortunately not the traditional Finnish lounas, but the standard boring short one. Thank you.
Thank you anyway.